So I had the crazy opportunity to meet the one and only Gary Vaynerchuk. And it was such a weird and crazy experience. I remember I woke up insanely early just for that moment. And to be honest with you, I've been to film school for about 3 years, and this was probably the best thing. This is probably even more worth more than the degree I'm just about to get from community college. So sit back, relax. We talk about movie marketing and failure and whatnot. So thank you so much, Gary. I appreciate it.
Hey Gary, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm focused and never finished.
Good. I like that. What's your name?
My name's Rob.
Rob, real pleasure.
Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of context. So I live in a really small town here in the Silicon Valley called Milpitas, just right in front of San Jose. And if you know anything about the Silicon Valley, it has like a really hardcore startup culture, right?
Yes.
And so I've always had a sort of entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, the only thing that I really want to do in life, I mean, nobody could really convince me otherwise. I want to make movies. Like that's the only thing, that's the only shit that really truly makes me happy. But but the thing with me is that I'm having a hard time having the discipline and having the accountability to really just go for it and really just
what are you scared of, and what are the circumstances of your childhood? Are you like what's stopping you? Like, if you like, get real fucking real with me. What, like, really tell me the answer, actual answer, because it's just hard to say out loud.
Yeah, I'm actually completely fine with saying it. I've said it like before on my Instagram where I think it was about a year ago. I was really passionate about making this short film. It was part of my graduation requirements, and we had to make just a short 10-minute film.
Yep.
And so I made it, and all hell broke loose. I was super passionate, super on top of shit, and everything just was like the editing was bad. I didn't really like the camera angles we got. Everybody's time schedules was just so constrained to the point where we weren't even able to finish. We had to cut out probably like 80% of the story. You know what I mean? And
it didn't go well.
Didn't pan out.
Yep, that's good.
Yep.
Dude, that's good. Stay with me here. That's good. Adversity is always the foundation of success. You needed that punch in the face because you probably came in too hot and thought you were fucking Steven Spielberg and this was going to be fucking amazing. Like, you probably came in too hot. You probably came in too audacious, too entitled, too confident, overconfident, had an ideology in your head. You might have even, at this young of an age, not done right as a leader, and might have not known how to lead the people to success. You might have taken the framework of they're working for you instead of you're working for them, because you've had this dream, this ambition. This has been manifesting in your head. So there's almost like this entitled subconscious that comes into that there's people there, the editors, the filmer, that they're there for you.
Right.
Where in reality, for real success, you're there for them.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, I'm excited. I'm grateful that this was such a fuck up because you're so young, and I think it led to a self-reflecting moment. You've already shared that out to the world on your Instagram. Here you and I are now. I'm proud of you. You need to view that as what you deserved. You weren't good. That's why it sucked. That's on you. But that's great, because then you get to look at what you were good at.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I've worked with this nonprofit chapter. I opened it on campus and everything, and so I had this leading ability, which allowed me. And look, I mean, I've been pretty vocal about this. I fucked up like probably like way more than a lot of people do, and just realizing that I'm young and realizing that I'm like only 22 years old, and
you're supposed to fuck up. Like nobody came out like nobody comes out the gate. Like I had the great fortune that I made my fucked up mistakes when I was a kid, right? Like I think back to this story where I had $1,000 very early in my baseball card career, and I begged my mom to take me to Price Club, which was the precursor to Costco, and we got there, and the boxes I wanted to buy weren't there. But instead of being disciplined and not having the money burn a hole in my pocket and just keep it and be patient, this is me at 13, I went on a spree and bought a ton of bad cards. Spent like almost all the money on these bad cards, bad football cards, bad baseball cards. Took them home, opened it up, got that high, loved it. It was like almost the lottery. But then I had nothing. I had nothing of value. And I had to grind all of 8th grade. Like making good trades, selling shit to like get back to even that point where I had that money. And that taught me a great lesson. I had the luxury of learning a lot of my business lessons. We don't talk about business kid prodigies, but if that was a thing, I would have been one of those. I learned a lot of things at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So now I'm 44, but I'm like 100 because I've been in my game for fucking 37 years, which most people don't get into their game until their mid-20s, and then they're retiring. I'm in my prime. I'm in the dawn of my prime. My prime is probably in my 60s. So I think this is great that you fucking had this huge L, because I think it is starting to instill more humility into you, which is going to be a balance that you're going to need to be a great movie maker.
Yeah. So how do you think I should have that accountability moving forward? Because I totally realize that, and especially after talking to you, it's just like now I'm writing, this feature film that I'm doing, and pretty much really starting to get the ball rolling again. So how do I have the accountability?
First and foremost, you have to realize that it was 100% your fault that failed, and that you don't want that to happen again. You don't want that to happen. So I think one, that should help you. Two, you should also be okay when this one gets fucked up, because maybe you were at 10 Audacity, and maybe as you sit here with me, you're still at 7, and you may need another punch in the fucking neck to go to 4. It's still a process. But what the number one thing I can tell you, brother, is if you're a leader, you work for them, they don't work for you. It's a huge factor. And I see it a ton in creatives getting fucked up and getting confused.
Right.
It's a huge factor. You work for them. So A, you have to tell a great story. But to see that story come into real life, you're going to need to be the number 2 to your editor, number 2 to the intern getting coffee for the actors. You're always playing the humble card. And I always believe that works out in the end. I genuinely do. And so you have to be accountable and humble going into this, knowing that was your vulnerability the first time around.
And
it's practice.
Totally.
It's about confidence. You know who are the dick directors and the asshole bosses? The insecure. Yeah. They need the short-term fix, like they're the boss. But so they win the battle, like, yay, they belittled somebody, they can feel better for a quick hit. But meanwhile, everyone's talking shit behind their back, and they're not liked, and their legacy's fucked.
Yeah.
This is about confidence. Go ahead.
One last thing that I want to ask you before we kind of cut it off. So if you were Gary Vee, and you, instead of Gary Vee, the media guy, you were Gary Vee, the movie guy, and this is your first film out of film school, and you really want to get this film out there. What is what is your game plan for that?
So it's interesting, right? Because I'm going to be Gary Vee, the movie guy and the TV guy. Like, I'm going to make original content in my career. My approach to that was to build a marketing engine, VaynerMedia, that could bring exposure to every one of my projects when the time is right. So I'm living what you're saying. I just decided to take a 30-year, 40-year approach to it because my passion was building the marketing engine and then layering it. For you, your passion is the movie. Here's what I would say. I would build a community. I would, if I'm you, I would network like crazy. I would join a ton of Facebook groups. I would start a bunch of Instagram accounts. I would comment on people's YouTube. I would do a ton of homework on who's winning in Hollywood and New York and start DMing them and offer to be an intern. I would lean into humility and patience and work ethic to build a community to then leverage to bring exposure to when that film is out. But let me tell you the biggest thing I've learned, kind of spending time in Hollywood over the last 5 years, kind of paying attention. Movie marketing is garbage. People are really bad at marketing movies. Really bad at it. They do not use the modern platforms. And so, listen, my game is very simple. Whether you're trying to cure Crohn's disease, or whether you're trying to raise money for the PTA, or whether you're trying to help one 16-year-old girl who's on the verge of making tough decisions, I believe that the internet is the most powerful medium to reach people. And I think whatever sites or apps are winning on top of the internet at the moment, whether that's podcast or YouTube, whether that's TikTok or LinkedIn, being a storyteller within all those platforms matters. I'll give you an example. It's about creativity. One thing I would do if I was writing a movie, I would probably start an account of the lead character in that film 2 years before the film came. As you're writing the story, and we create a character named Benjamin Thompson, I would literally create an Instagram account for Benjamin Thompson. Find some artist like the one I just had on social media, and literally DM like 50 artists and be like, hey, if you create this character with me and do all the drawings in the comic strip or the pictures or whatever, when I make my movie, I'll give you a 0.05% of the back end if it ever takes. Like, just being creative, just being thoughtful. Like, and God forbid that Instagram account gets a little traction, it leads to a narrative when the film comes out. Like, so there's just a lot of creative ways to do shit. The bottom line though is, and it's so obvious to me, brother, this is a game of patience and putting in the work. Like, when you're an aspiring, filmmaker, you dream every day. It's in your soul for you to have your breakout film. You watch the fucking Oscars and you see highlight and you're like, that's gonna be, you see a break, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. But like, the reality is it takes a lot of grinding time. A lot.
Yeah. I mean, the only luxury we have is time, right?
Yeah, and then other people will be like, time is fleeting and you never know, and I get all that, but like, the reality is, whether you think we have a ton of time or no time, whichever one you believe in, I can promise you this, the fucking hard work is the cost of entry. You either have such extreme God-given talent that the first thing you write pops off on some Matt Damon, and Ben Affleck shit, right? Or you're like the 99% and you put in the fucking 2 decades and then your moment comes. Take it from a 44-year-old who's twice your age. If I told you right now, you have to put in 22 years of grinding, but at 44 you hit, you would fucking rip your arm off for that opportunity. Yet when you're 22, that sounds like the worst.
Yeah, it does sound, it sounds so far away, but that's what it takes, right?
It definitely is normally a foundational piece of the required way to get there. But here's my thing. Being a filmmaker that is commercially successful enough to live your life is such a lottery ticket, it should be hard. I keep reminding all my friends and youngsters in this community, it's like, wait a minute, so let me get this straight. You want to be a millionaire? Less than a 1% of 1% kind of life? Shouldn't that be hard? Shouldn't that take a long time? Shouldn't it be really difficult?
Right.
Like shouldn't that require an enormous amount of time? Shouldn't that be a process? Like, I'm always trying to get people to understand what they're actually asking for. Are you out of your mind? There's only so many filmmakers in the world. You want to live that life? Cool. But of course it should be fucking bleeding out of your eyeballs. Of course there should be unlimited roadblocks. Of course this should be hard.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
Bro,
All right, Gary. Yeah.
good luck, bro.
One last thing. Can I just grab this clip?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Work with
All right.
Dustin. All right.
Awesome.
Let's get
Thank
one
you
more
so
in,
much.
Dustin. You got it.